Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, March the 25th, 2024. However, the day before, Sunday, the 24th, was a full moon lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is like a full moon on steroids. So instead of it being the effects, the emotional responsiveness lasting for a day or two, we might be feeling for most of everybody for all of this week, bringing a lot of emotional intensities. But other than that, there's some very favorable aspects, nothing really heavy. Let's start with Monday the 25th. The moon is in Libra. Well, that was because on Sunday, the full moon lunar eclipse was in Libra, and it continues into Tuesday. There's nothing else going on Monday, and with the moon that sets the public tone, Libra is sociable, it's cooperative, it's friendly. On Tuesday, the 26th, the emotional moon in Libra will be in opposition or confrontation to communication Mercury around 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. That may not be the best time to be having any type of important meetings, discussions, because what's going on is the moon opposite the Mercury. The moon is the subjective and the emotional, and when you're interacting with others, that's the Mercury, the rational. And so it could be that it's going to be difficult to stay on the same page. One person's being emotional, the other person's being more rational. But it only lasts an hour or two. And then at 4:10 p.m. Pacific time, then the moon in Libra goes void of course, and it stays for the rest of the day into Wednesday, 2:04 a.m. Pacific time. Every week, as I mentioned, when the moon's void of course, it's changing signs, but it's no longer making aspects to other planets until it starts the new cycle in the next sign, which will be Scorpio. So during the moon void of course, you can stick to your routine, continue what you've been doing. It's good for resting and introspection, but it's not advised to start important new projects. On the 27th, now that the moon is in Scorpio and Libra, the tone is very different. Libra is very sociable, looking for a win-win situation for everybody, all this cooperation. Then we go into Scorpio, and Scorpio, the energy is all or nothing, can be very intense, also very private kind of energies. The moon in Scorpio will be in a hard angle to compulsive Pluto. Pluto's the ruler of Scorpio. This is about 6 to 7 a.m. Pacific time. There might be really intense emotional reactions. Again, it only lasts for an hour or two. But by 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, that emotional moon will be in harmony with courageous, assertive Mars. Good for exercising, but good for initiating important new projects. On Thursday, as the moon continues in Scorpio, in late morning Pacific time, it's going to be in opposition to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, expansiveness, optimism, and that emotional moon opposite Jupiter, it's usually like too much of a good thing. You may be feeling overly optimistic with overinflated expectations. So the worst case scenario would be that you got to cut back. But if you just stick to moderation, at least you're going to be feeling kind of upbeat and optimistic. And for the entire day, pleasure-seeking relational Venus will be in harmony with eclectic, innovative Uranus. This is a very social energy. It's good for hanging with friends, getting involved with networking, And since Uranus can can trigger the unexpected, there could be an unexpected new friendship or an unexpected infatuation. On Friday, the 29th, the moon continues in intense private Scorpio. It's going to be in harmony with inspiring, healing Neptune from about 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific time. This is very good for trusting your intuition, for creativity, for charity. But the moon will go void, of course, again, in Scorpio from 8:41 a.m. until 12:53 p.m. Again, it's don't start anything important new, just stay the course. At 12:53 p.m. on Friday the 29th, the moon goes into Sagittarius. The moon describes the public tone and reaction in general. Scorpio is this private intensity, sometimes can be brooding. When the moon goes into Sagittarius, the public is more adventurous, it's more optimistic, it's more outgoing. It's not so intense and brooding and private as it was in Scorpio. In Sagittarius, it's very much outgoing and playful. Great to start the new weekend. And the moon, when it goes into Sagittarius, by late afternoon Pacific time, it'll be in harmony with Pluto. So when the moon's in harmony with Pluto, emotionally, you can really connect on a really heartfelt, deeper level. It's good for counseling, having an astrology reading, good for introspection. On Saturday, the 30th, the moon in Sag will be in harmony with the sun in the sun in Aries. And this happens like twice a month. And it will be happening mid-month, mid-morning. And when the moon is in harmony with the sun, it's when everything seems to just flow more easily, especially with relationships. But mid-afternoon, the moon will be in a stressful angle to restricted Saturn. Now, this might be a time that you have to take on a lot more responsibilities and you're really worried about it. Or you might be feeling emotionally kind of restricted. But this too shall pass. It's only an hour or two. And then we go into Sunday, March the 31st. And the moon in outgoing Sag will be in a tension with Venus. But Venus is also a benefic energy. Venus is the planet of love and harmony and cooperation. But when the moon, trying to get your emotional needs met, is in a bit tension with Venus, the planet of love and union, you may be having these strong desires for a more intimate connection with a friend, with a family member, with a loved one, but it seems to be off a bit. Now, this is only about 11 a.m. to 12 noon or so Pacific time. But mid-afternoon, 4 5 p.m., the moon will be in harmony with Mercury. Mercury is all this communications with the moon. This is really favorable for like brainstorming ideas, having, interacting with others and be more mentally stimulating, more conversational. And then the moon goes void, of course, again in Sagittarius at 5:17 p.m. until 9:06 p.m. Pacific time, as then the moon goes into Capricorn. When the moon is in Sagittarius, it's outgoing, it's playful, it's upbeat. When the moon goes into Capricorn, as we're going into the new work week on Monday, it's time to get organized, get down to business, accomplish, and catch up on all your work tasks. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.